This episode of the Comic Book Fiend Club presents the Fiendcast is brought to you by unofficially InStockTrades.com. That's InStockTrades.com, the number one place for omnibus trades and all that good stuff. Guys, show's about to begin shortly.
What is going on, everybody? I am James, aka the Comic Raider here, and I thank you for joining us tonight. I am not alone as always. Today we have...
What up, what up? Canadian Geek, Chad here. How's it going, people?
So, thank you all for joining us. You may or may not hear Mr. Ink Jedi himself pop up in the background, but I want to thank you all for joining us tonight again. I will be doing the hosting for tonight, and we have a lot planned. A bunch of news came out this week, and then obviously, as my little teaser post, you know, we've got quite the topic to go over, but we're gonna save that for later. So we are gonna get started here. So first things first, we're gonna go over some entertainment news here. Disney Plus, we've been talking about this for a little while, and their new service and what they're gonna be offering and the type of shows that are going to be on there. And we've got a little bit more info this week on some Star Wars news. Now, I know that there's a lot of you out there that are big Star Wars fans. So we're going to start with The Mandalorian. Some of you have already seen the set photo release of him in the suit. The news that's kind of popping out is some casting news. We have Pedro Pascal is most likely going to be the lead role. He is from Game of Thrones and does a character on Narcos. There's also rumors of Gina Carano, the former UFC fighter, and mostly known for her brilliant performance in Fast and the Furious. She will be in an unknown role in the show.
She was the bomb in Deadpool. Superhero landing.
Yeah. I'm more Fast and the Furious. That's all that matters. Thank you, Fast and the Furious, for again giving us another great character, another great person. So the two of them are casted. I'm sure we're going to get more and more news coming out. It looks like The Mandalorian is going to is going to be after the fall of the Empire and before the emergence of the First Order. It's going to follow the lone gunfighter in the outer reaches of the galaxy, far from the authority of the New Republic. You're going to have Jon Favreau is going to write and executive produce the series. And also what I found was interesting is going to be, it seems like every episode, I'm not sure how many episodes they're going to have yet, but it seems like every episode is going to have its own director, which could be interesting, could be a great move, or it could be a really bad move as far as pacing and cinematography and all this goes. I mean, there's a lot that goes into directing, so it could be a great move or not. Some of the big names, I'm going to leave the last one for Chad here, but some of the names that I saw were Deborah Chow from Jessica Jones, Rick Famuyiwa from Dope, which I love that movie, Dave Filoni, who did the Clone Wars and Rebels, Bryce Dallas Howard from Soulmates, and the last one that Chad is most excited for
is Taika Waititi, who is of Thor Ragnarok fame. I'm wondering though, he did good action, good comedy. I don't know about the drama, but there's some pretty dramatic parts in Thor. So, you know, and he's doing the season finale, so that's going to be pretty cool. So it'll be interesting to see if by that point will his episode rescue the season if it doesn't do too good, or will it be crappy, or what exactly will happen. It'll be interesting to see what the fandom is thinking at the end of that series. So it's pretty cool though that they're doing it like, different directions. Each episode get a different feel for each episode. So, and I like Pedro Pascal. He's awesome in Narcos. He was awesome as I forget the character he played, but he was in Game of Thrones too. He got his head crushed in by the mountain, but his character was cool. So it'll be good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're getting some, some decent names, and obviously, I mean, like I said, I recognize quite a few of these directors, so this is a pretty big deal, not in Jon Favreau, and I mean, like we said, it's going to all come down to the pacing of the series and how this goes. But I have to believe, I mean, it's they have such a following, and I guess we have another one to bring up too is what's going to be interesting about both of these series is you have this hardcore group of Star Wars fans from the original series, and then you have this new group of hardcore fans from these new ones, and then there's people that like both. Like I myself, I love all of them. The movies, I'm not a huge fan. I don't get into the comics. I don't get into the TV shows and all that. But as far as the movies go, I love them, and I love the old ones and the new ones. Is this going to, cater more to one side or the other? Are those people from, all the people that hate this new group of movies, are they going to hate this series? And it'll be interesting to see how people react.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll work for both because, and I think one of the reasons, even though we all knew what was going to happen at the end of Rogue One, I think the reason it worked so well is because all we knew about them was, many Bothans or whatever died to get us this information, and that was it. We didn't know, even if there was, I know there was novels, so maybe they touched on it there. I don't know, but the mass fandom out there didn't really know what happened, so they didn't have the handcuffs on them as far as what they could do. Mm-hmm. They could do whatever they want, and this is the kind of the same thing. He's called the Mandalorian. He's a soldier who's from the same race as Boba Fett, but that's it. Like you're not bound by story canon, unless you try to involve this character in the canon of Star Wars, and then you got to play with limits. But they can do whatever they want, and I think it's really cool. I'm looking forward to it because you're going to get the new fans who are like, okay, well, it's I don't have to know anything about the previous books or movies or shows, no, and then you're going to get those older fans like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like I get maybe why they didn't pick Boba Fett, but let's see what they got. So I think it's going to be good, and it's going to be the actors. But I'm wondering, is Pedro Pascal going to play the Mandalorian himself? Because if he's under that mask a lot, they could almost get like an unknown character, an unknown actor, and just throw him under there. So,
well, yeah, that is the rumor.
He's got a stormtrooper's helmet. He's got a stormtrooper's helmet in that picture that that Jedi put up. So it's kind of interesting of why he has that. Was he a stormtrooper that deserted the army, or did his helmet suck and he killed one on the battlefield? And he's okay, cool. I'll loot the body, take his mags and his weapons, and a little bit of a Call of Duty moment there. But it'll be interesting to see if they try to explain those things of why he has certain, he's got the picture up right now, or will it just be, or is it maybe just a ripoff? Did he design it, ripped off? Right. So it's interesting. I think it'll be as long as it's done well, it'll be very well received.
I think and I think going back to, we keep talking about the directors and all that is, with the pairing of Jon Favreau, and then I look at some of these names of the directors, Jessica Jones, Dope, Thor, and then the Clone Wars series and all that. I see directors of movies that were fun and funny, and then Jon Favreau, that's who he is, and so I have to imagine. I mean, it's going to have its seriousness, but I see some comedy in here, which I think for a series is going to be very important, that you got to have that, comedic moments tied in there.
Yeah, you got to have those moments of levity to kind of break the tension. Yeah. You just can't have serious for 10 or 12 episodes, an hour each. So I think, you make a good point. I think it'll be good. I think it'll have a little bit of everything, a little bit for everybody. And, and I hope it's good because then it'll give not only the Star Wars branch of Disney, but Disney in general, okay, we can take other, and of course they've done it in the movies, but they can take shows even that they haven't done yet, they were thinking of doing, and saying, okay, let's do this. Let's do a one season of Champions. Let's put, well, maybe not Hulk, but you know what I mean? Like, let's take Marvel Girl and younger Cyclops and Miles Morales, and let's throw them in a show together. Okay, and see how it goes. So I think there's a lot of good things to come out of this.
Yeah, they're getting started. So we touched on this a little bit, but the second announcement was that they're going to be developing another series. This one is going to follow the Rebel spy Cassian Andor, who was played by Diego Luna in the Rogue One, which we just touched on. So this is going to be, I guess you can call it like a prequel series, where it's going to be just based on his character. That one, we don't really have any news as far as storyline or anything like that yet. I remember his character and I remember the movie, but not in the sense of if they really touched on anything from his past that's really noteworthy.
Yeah, like the only thing he talks about is how he's been a rebel since he was 6 years old. But I think they're thinking of, okay, we don't know anything about him, so nobody's going to expect anything. Nobody's going to have to, think we have to be shackled by the canon again. So I don't know. I would have rather seen like her, the daughter's travels.
Yeah.
I would rather seen her story. I like the actor. The character himself, though, was very forgettable. So I don't know. I don't really know if there's a big calling or a big need for this series. But again, we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if a lot of people were calling for it either. I know that, again, Rogue One is kind of what started this whole thing of the new generation of fans and all that, and people were really just hating on it. I thought it was great. I thought it was great in the sense of, like you touched on earlier, it's one movie. You had to quickly, in this movie, get us to like these characters and then end their story all in the same movie. And I thought that they did a great job of that. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I would have rather seen a buddy comedy with the blind Asian guy who thinks he's part of the Force and his buddy with the gun. That would have, and then with maybe the robot in there for some flavor. But I guess we'll see.
Maybe they throw in some of those characters, so it'll be good. Yeah. But I think, between all the news we've been getting on this Disney Plus, the Loki series and then this, they're definitely building this platform up. And I guess my thing is, we've been talking about this for the last, 4 episodes of all these different services and all these different streaming services. And is there going to be a point where, is it just too much? Are we all going to have to really subscribe to all these different damn services?
Yeah.
I refuse.
That's capitalism at its finest. You want this, you got to pay. You want this, you got to pay. But it's like, I'm not going to subscribe to Disney. Depend on the price, though. Depend on the price, and my wife actually brought that up the other day. We were talking about, do we need cable? Do we need, we watch a lot of Netflix when we watch TV? Do we need cable? And maybe eventually you won't, because you got Hulu and you got Crave and you got Netflix, you're gonna have Disney, and all it's gonna take is these other companies. Like look at Netflix. I can get weekly. I think the week after I can get episodes of Flash for this season. You can get all these, and that's gonna happen more and more. More and more of these companies are gonna look. Nobody's watching your shows live because they're busy with their real lives. They're gonna watch your show 2 or 3 days later. So why don't you let us buy the rights to these shows and get them the week or 4 or 5 days after? If it premieres on a Tuesday night, it's on our system, or it's on our service on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that more and more, and you're going to see, I'm sure, some shows, because Disney owns ABC. So I'm sure as soon as that, they're going to either start bringing in the reruns, or they'll bring in new shows that'll premiere the week later. And I think this is where it's going. And I was actually talking to some of the Canadian guys in the Canadian chat before the show. I think Marvel or Disney taking their stuff off of Netflix was actually a really good thing, because already, if you've seen it this year, they're coming out with just amazing shows, original shows by Netflix, amazing movies. So I think the money they were paying Disney and Marvel, for the rights to that stuff, or the rights just to show the movies on their service, all that money, and don't fool yourself, people, they were paying Disney hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that money that they get now, they can put back into their shows or new movies, or go after other properties. Love it or hate it, for an example, Seinfeld, whether you love it or hate it, it's a huge show. And I think it was NBC. Can you imagine if they scored that? Be like, hey guys, we got NBC, we got Seinfeld on here now, even if it's only a short contract. Or I'm just saying, I was using that as an example, but a big show like that, they could go after another big show. They can go after the competition and go, hey, never mind Disney, they got their own show. Why don't you give us one of your big shows? So it'll be interesting to see.
In the end, it could be it could be a great move for both of them, and both are going to up their game. So
and I think, and I said in general, I think streaming services are really going to be the way to go.
Yeah, they are.
Because like you said, I think convenience and time and family and kids, and there's a lot of factors of. I don't know the last time I watched a show bang on live when it comes on.
Right.
So.
No, me neither. Yeah. Me neither. All right, so that's going to end it for the streaming service news for now. So we're going to move on to our next topic, which is going to be Morbius. Now, this has been a long rumored movie, and then we got the news about Jared Leto, and we've done a discussion already as far as how we think he's gonna do. We got a little teaser this week on his Instagram, which is just a quirky video of him shaving off his beard, but he did caption it, and so it begins ... hashtag Morbius. So this is definitely gonna happen. This is gonna be something that he's aiming towards. He's getting ready for it. Now we don't have news as far as plots and all that, and really he's been the only person casted and all this kind of stuff. But there is a rumor that's been surfacing. So we wanted to get this out there just to see if it happens. Great. If it doesn't, all right. But we want to talk about a rumored villain is going to be a friend turned enemy called Loxias Crown. And his first appearance, I'll get this out there, was in 1997's Spider-Man series, number 76. He basically came down, used in the same experiment, and he's almost like the same as Morbius, except now on a villain standpoint. I'm going to be honest, had no idea who the hell this person was when I first heard of him.
I forgot his name
really
already.
Don't. Exactly. Still really don't. And I guess what was it? So he also goes by the name of Crown. And he's popped up a few times in Spider-Man here and there, and in that same series that they did, Morbius and Blade had to team up to take him down. So really, it's not necessarily, we're not bringing up this topic necessarily to tell you about some shitty character that nobody knows. It's more, if this does go to happen, then that number 76 is going to be a book you might want to pick up. And number two, what interests me is the fact that it's a character nobody has ever heard of. And then we'll get into the whole team up at the end. But first, I want to talk about the fact that it's someone that just nobody knows. Now, to me, if I'm going to make a movie, and I've already got Jared Leto signed on for Morbius, and now my villain is a no-name person, I need to get a big name person for this role to make this work. What do you think?
If that's the way they're going, yes, I agree. But you made an interesting story. You mentioned a point there is that in the comics, it took him and Blade to team up to take this guy out. Now, what they could be doing, I don't know if they are. They're probably not, because I'm not 100%, I'm not right all the time. But they could get a mediocre or a good enough B-list actor or a guy or an A-list actor who really needs a paycheck. And they could, because Wesley Snipes has been hinting that he's been working on DC with Marvel on a few different Blade endeavors. Depending on what they want to do, because Morbius, I don't care what anybody says, you're not going to make him into this huge, you're not going to make him into the new Blade. But Night Stalkers is a possibility in the future. And so I could see them keeping their lips shut, and it's Marvel, they like big surprises. I could see them on the down low saying, okay, well, yes, it's a Morbius movie, but we're using the Morbius movies to launch either the new Blade series or the Night Stalker series. So what's going to happen? It's going to be this big character that they will not kill, or they do kill right at the end, but it takes Blade showing up. That's that would be killer. Honestly, if they're like, yeah, by the way, Blade's going to be in Morbius, I'm like, oh, okay, great. I'll just watch. It'll be like It'll be like X-Men Apocalypse. I don't care about 97% of the movie. I just want that cameo by Blade or Wolverine at the end of it, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah, go ahead. Show everybody how weird Jared Leto can be.
Yeah, but he did the same thing for.
That was my conscience, by the way. Sorry, keep going.
He did the same thing for Suicide Squad. Remember when he put that video of him doing all the makeup?
Yes.
It's kind of this thing he does. But yeah, I could see them doing that too. They better get and it's along the same lines as by using this story and this no-name bad guy, they're not bound by expectations. People just expect it to be a good movie, but for that character, they don't really care about it. So they can just do whatever they want. They say you can make him dark, or you can make him crazy. You can, he's got a mental problem. Like you can just do whatever you want with him as long as it's good. and people will like it. So I think
Holy guacamole.
Hey man, how you
Yeah,
doing?
no, I agree. I think it'll be good. And now I see that we have the video going on now. Yeah, I think,
Very dashing.
like we talked about, I mean, that would be a great way, you know, either you're going to have to bring in the big person, or this really is, now that we think about it, this is that great way to introduce another character. And obviously Blade would have to be the one. So if they did that, I think then we have a really good movie on our hands for sure. And again, if this does come down, then Spider-Man number 76, we were one of the first ones to let you know to get on it.
Yeah.
So that'll wrap up our Morbius. Like I said, really, that was really all the big news that it came out. It was just that sneak peek that we showed, and then the rumored villain. And we'll have to see as time goes on now. Now, I mean, now that obviously he's getting ready for it, now I assume more news is going to start to come out. So we'll keep you updated on that. Next up, I wanted to quickly talk about Miles Scott. Now, that name doesn't sound familiar to you. This is Bat Kid, who I would have to assume most of you have heard about. He did the Make-A-Wish Foundation, set him up to be Batman, and he teamed up with Batman, and they took down some Batman rogues. So San Francisco Chronicle has reported this week that he's now being reported as cancer-free. He's 10 years old now, 5th grader, and he can now go back to just living his regular old childhood, his normal, healthy childhood. And I thought that was great news.
Yeah, that's awesome. He never mind the Joker. He got the bigger villain in the end. He won out.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah.
That's nice to see. I watched that movie, and having a son of my own at the time, a newborn, it was kind of like got the feels here and there, because I was just like, I could only imagine. It was an awesome day for him. It was an awesome day that everybody came together, but I wouldn't even want to know what the parents are thinking. And you got a young child too as well. So you watch these things and you're like, oh, that sucks, and then you start like your brain starts going to some dark places when you unintentionally, and you just So I'm glad. I'm really happy that it worked out for that little guy.
Yeah, fatherhood changes you, man. It makes you definitely more emotional to everything for sure. So a lot of us can definitely relate to that story.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. So we also now have a bunch of TV show news. Bunch of little news came out. Again, nothing major, just a bunch of little pictures here or casting rumors here. So we're going to start off with, first one is one that we've talked about before, is the picture was released of Ruby Rose as Batwoman this is going to be the Arrow crossover, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's a 3-part crossover, I think, on December 9th. What is it? No, it's not Identity Crisis. What are they doing? It's a 3-parter across
Elseworlds. Yeah. So that picture came out, and I mean, again, we've talked about this before. I'm not one of those that really freaks out on castings until they're really into play. I think she'll do a great job. But obviously, as I mentioned before, I don't watch these series, so I'm not going to know. I'll just have to rely on everybody else. But I think the picture looks great. I'm looking at it right now. I think she looks great.
It looks cool. I don't know what the green is about, though.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like Poison Ivy's outfit meets Batwoman, but we'll see. I mean, I trust CW. They always end up, they start off with one version of a suit, and they're like, no, like the actor and like the character, we're going to let them build into the suit everybody knows, So, so it looks interesting. Like I said, we'll see. That show will come down to how good it is. Can she act? Right. Can she carry the show? And you'll notice right away, and I don't know if people notice this about especially these kind of shows. The second you see a lot more scenes with her, with other actors or ensemble scenes, watch out, because if a lot of TV shows, Arrow did the same thing. They relied on Stephen Amell for a long time, and then we need more scenes with him and Felicity and him and Diggle and him, because we don't know if he can handle the show or Flash or any of them.
Right. So
if you see a lot of things where it's just her against one enemy or against a group of people, whatever, but when scenes start going where it's her and her sidekick and her other friend, and it's a big ensemble scene, that's like, I don't know if they think she can do it, because that, so it'll be interesting. I'm excited for it. It looks cool. I just like how many people got pissed off at it. So I'm loving that. They're still like, no, we're making our show. Screw yourselves.
Yeah. No, and it'd be cool to see her prove everybody wrong too, if it does go well. So next up in DC news, and keep in mind, people, we're not shitting on DC right now. We're actually
Not
giving
at
them
all.
props.
Not at
We
all.
think
Yeah.
that they'll do a great job. So next up in DC, actually, I take it back. Our next topic, we're going to shit on DC a little bit, but so that's going to follow this one. So in other good news, is they casted a child by the name of Ella J. Basco, and she's casted as Cassandra Cain in the Birds of Prey movie. And this is the one, I'm forgetting the names. I know obviously Margot Robbie's in it. And then Huntress was casted. I can't remember her name, but and then we got the Black Mass News as the villain. Now, Cassandra Cain is a villain, is a character that I've come to really like recently. We have her first appearance up right now, Batman 567. That one's already kind of been on the rise, so it's kind of one of those you kind of should already got it. Maybe now is like your last kind of chance, because it's definitely going to keep going up. Now, her character, she's appeared in that series, and then she came back a little while later. And then a good series to kind of get in touch with her and her background is Batman and Robin Eternal, which came out as part of the New 52 series. And it kind of gave the introduction of her as the orphan to her dad, David Cain. And she was just bred to be an assassin. She's mute. She's mute in the sense of she doesn't talk, but she could. And that's what the current series is now getting her towards.
Really quickly, it's Harley Quinn, Batgirl, Huntress, and Black Canary are the four. I'm looking up the article right now. Yeah.
And they have, did they have the names there? Because I know they're casted. I know that Huntress is casted.
Yeah. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who was in Scott Pilgrim and also Live Free or Die Hard, is going to be Huntress. By what I'm reading, she'll be Huntress. And Journey Smollett Bell will be Black Canary. And also remember, Ewan McGregor is going to play Black Mask. Yep. And Rosie Perez, shout out to 1992, welcome back, is going to portray Gotham City's oldest detective, Renee Montoya.
Yes.
So
actually, Rosie Perez was in, wasn't she in Pineapple Express? That was a good one.
As the oldest cop in Los Angeles.
That's her niche. She's found her new career.
Yeah.
But so Batman and Robin Eternal was a great series with her. It was pretty damn long. I know I have the whole damn series. It was like 30 issues or something like that. But it kind of gave her a lot of dealing with her backstory and how now they've made her a pretty important person in the more recent ones, especially joining in the Rebirth. She was on Batman's team that he was trying to build in Detective Comics. And I don't know if you're too familiar with her, Chad, but she's badass.
Renee Montoya? I'm pretty sure.
No, Cassandra Cain.
Cassandra Cain. I know a little bit about her. I know she's pretty cool. I just don't know. I can't really talk about her because I don't know enough, and I don't want to have an opinion that sounds stupid. So she looks like a cool character. I've heard good things, so it's something I have to read up on to give a more educated, opinion on.
I would say, like I said, Batman and Robin is kind of a long series, but it is really good, and it does give her background. And then Detective Comics kind of, in the Rebirth series, has made her a part of Batman's team that he was building on Detective Comics. And she's brutal. She basically was trained to kind of be an assassin. So she can
she was kept in isolation and gave her,
So she's badass. And then basically, now obviously that she's partnered up with Batman, he's been trying to get her to use her talents now to fight justice and whatnot. But she is a badass. I'm not familiar with the girl that was casted as her. She's only been in a couple of TV series. So we'll have to see how she does. But again, it's another, it's not like there's that many important child actors out there that are freaking, famous and all that.
Yeah.
We all know how Logan, and we know that Logan did a hell of a job with theirs. So I think this one could be good because this is another brutal child. So next up, we're going to skip over to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a series that, again, I don't watch. But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been renewed for its 7th season, which my understanding is that number 6 is what's coming up right now. So they already have the 7th season signed on. It's going to stay on ABC for now. And then also,
it is Disney.
And then also, but do you think they would, would they turn it to their streaming service, or because it's so popular, keep it?
It depends on the production value. Like, are they going to spend more But you remember ABC, although they own that company also has its own payroll and its own revenue service.
Yeah.
So they'll probably keep it on there because it depends on the ratings. But if you're going to get the same ratings and you can do it cheaper on your streaming service, but the same production value, they'll do it. But if they're going to have to move to the streaming service and ABC is like, but we're not footing the bill for that,
Right.
or it's not in our contract or our logistics to do that, then they might not. So I think they'll keep it on TV because it's one of their only TV shows left to do with their universe that isn't on their own streaming service. So I think they'll leave it. I think they'll keep it there.
That makes sense. And then the second part that we got was the new look of Chloe Bennett's character Quake. Her in her new uniform, which again, I don't watch the show, but I mean, it's still pretty cool to see the new costume. I think that she's obviously just smoking hot. I know everybody is with me on board with that one.
She makes it quick.
And that was terrible. We just need to move on.
I'm not a fan of that new outfit, though. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a fan of it. I like the older one. I like the older one was just straight black, and she had the big kick-ass chrome or metal, arm bracers. This one, the picture I did see, it looked like it was like some purple and some other colors in there, and it looked a little too cartoony to me. But that's just me.
Do you watch Denhead's Comics asking, is it even worth watching? Do you watch the series or no?
I watched it up until they went up into space. I think they were doing it was the season after the Inhumans. I think it was season 4 or 5. And I just got too busy. I haven't been able to go back to it. Like, it looks interesting. I know that I like a lot of the actors. I personally would really love, and I love that Clark Gregg is going to be in Captain Marvel. Because I think he's really done a lot to keep that show popular on TV. Yeah. And I really wish they'd bring him back into the MCU.
Yeah.
So because it'd be awesome to see him because he like you said, he was the Avengers needed that thing to happen to come together.
Yeah.
So it'd be awesome for him to come back. I would love to see him in Avengers 4. Like, they're all there, but we'll see. But I liked it, and I just got really busy, and I haven't been able to revisit it. But I liked it.
I know it's got a hell of a following, so I mean, I would guess it's worth. If you got time, I would guess it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
So next up is we're gonna go back to DC here. Now this one is just I don't even know. I don't know if I'm gonna hate this or love it. Again, I don't watch it, so I guess I don't really care. But Supergirl, for their next season, is going to introduce the iconic villain Lex Luthor, and have casted John Cryer of 2.5 Men and Pretty in Pink. If you're an old fuck, then you know him from that. That is going to be your new Lex Luthor. Now, there's a side by side of him and Lex, and I mean he's bald and he's got the beard going, and I don't know. For me, Lex Luthor needs to be such. We have the picture up right now. So to me, he has to be such a evil, just manipulative villain. And I mean, I only know John Cryer from the two things I just said. I don't know if he could pull that role off. But again, I'm judging him off of those two roles, and 2.5 Men being the big one.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't have done this. He's just, but he's one of those characters, and I think comedic actors are very undervalued and underappreciated. Mm-hmm. Because Robin Williams, for a lot of time, people thought Robin Williams couldn't act because he was a comedic actor, and then he did awesome work in like Good Morning Vietnam, or even like newer stuff like what's that one with Matt Damon?
Patch Adams.
Patch Adams or Good Will Hunting. If he can get that intensity of looking like, because Lex Luthor is an intense character, and he takes no bullshit, and he's like, do what I'm telling you to do, or I'm going to kill you, or I'm just going to take it over. You don't want to sell me the company, I'll just buy it. Like you got to have that intensity, without being crazy though. Right. And I think that was the problem with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, is he was intense but looked a little psychopathic, like you didn't know where he was coming from. John Cryer in that picture he showed us looked like Subway Jared's little brother. So that wasn't a great picture to use for himself, not us. But it's interesting. He could pull it off if he gets that intensity without being too crazy, and he gets that seriousness. Because Lex Luthor, I'm thinking of Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, the one we all grew up with. Right. And he was serious and he could be intense, but when he was making jokes, it was almost like he knew they were bad. He was just making jokes because it made him laugh. He knew he wasn't expecting laughs from other people. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of route they go, because that's a big character. That's not a cameo character. That's not going to be a 1 or 2 episode character. That's going to be like half the season, or he'll be recurring throughout the season as the ongoing thorn in their side. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out.
Yeah,
they should have just got Michael Rosenbaum to come back.
Oh man. Yeah, no, you know what? He was pretty good. I liked him.
Or say, screw it. Hey, Bryan Cranston, you busy?
He congratulated him. I saw that John Cryer did a tweet of how excited he was, and then what's his name? Michael was like, "Oh yeah, congratulations and all that." And so, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think Supergirl was even that popular. I mean, apparently it still is, and we'll have to see. I mean, but then again, if you think about it, I mean, I didn't even know who the hell the Superman was when they casted him. I've never even heard of that guy.
Yeah,
so,
neither do I. Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if it's worked out good or not, but apparently, they're making it work. It'll be interesting.
He's getting his own show, eh? It's gonna be called Metropolis.
First of all, I just can't get over the fact that you said A, but I don't know.
I'm Canadian,
I don't know if he is or not. We'll see.
No, he is. It's called Metropolis. It's coming out next year.
Oh, okay. Well, apparently he was good enough then to get his own show.
And
so now this Lex would then probably come back into that one too.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So I just hope
terrible.
He's got to be physically. They got to be matched. In height and kind of because Superman was Superman, who's all yoked, and Lex Luthor wasn't that crazy, but at least they were eye level. It wasn't he's not looking down at him. Where I think John Cryer can be intimidated by Chihuahua. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we will. All right, so that's going to pretty much wrap up our entertainment section here. So now we're going to move on to some comic book news. We'll see how much time we have for some of these, but the big one that I wanted to talk about here was Daredevil. Marvel Comics announced the new Daredevil team that's going to be taking over in February 2019, I believe it was. It's going to be the writer Chip Zdarsky and artist Marco Checchetto. They have a teaser art that we have up here of No Fear, and I'm really excited. I got to be honest, by the names, I didn't know who they were by name, but I looked them up, and Chip Zdarsky is known for Sex Criminals by Image, which I know is a huge series for people, and then he's currently doing the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, and then Marco Checchetto is Old Man Hawkeye, which is a series that I love, and I know that you do too. And I think the art on that is just brilliant. I freaking love it. So I think the two of them is going to make a hell of a pair here. Which Daredevil, how they're going to end this? The current series is done by Charles Soule, who's going to be wrapping up his run here, and this is not a spoiler, because it's there at the top of every issue that's coming out right now, is the death of Daredevil. So you have to assume that...
so Charles is killing another character,
That's what he's going to end with. So we'll see how it goes. Right now they're dealing with... he just introduced a character called Vigil, who was pretty badass. He was like a priest, and he just kicked him and Elektra's ass. And then he murdered a character. I won't spoil it for you. He murdered another character that's on Netflix and stuff. So you might know who that is. No, she's already dead.
Foggy Nelson?
She's been dead. No, I won't give it away. It's a bad guy.
I'll just keep guessing them.
It's a bad guy. So he killed him. And then no, hell, you can't kill Kingpin. So now what he's doing is Daredevil's been working with this team, and in this last issue, number 611, Kingpin, after this person died, Kingpin is now hunting him down, and he's hired all the villains to come get him. And so he had to fight quite a few of his old villains in this last one, like Electro and Typhoid Mary, and even Bullseye. And it's been a pretty good ass series so far. I've really enjoyed it. So, but it sounds like it's going to end with him freaking killing him off, which then you have to realize that now you're going to kill him off, and then you're going to leave it to this new team. And this new team is going to have to pick up where this death is left off. So do you have any opinions on that? Because I got a little more.
Yeah. Well, hey, good old Charles Soule. Oh fuck, that guy sucks. Death of Wolverine was shit. This will probably be shit too. But maybe not. Who knows? But it depends because they're like the show. It could be the death of Daredevil. So maybe he'll go back to just being Matt Murdock.
Possible.
Or maybe he'll stop being Daredevil and he'll just become a vigilante in a new suit, or he'll tell people, "I'm not Daredevil anymore. Don't call me Daredevil. The devil is dead." And I'm going this way. Who knows? It's Charles Soule. I'm pretty sure he gets his ideas from his kids. So I'm sorry. I don't. Me.
Not a fan. I know he killed your man.
It's not that he killed Wolverine. It's that he did such a bad job at the writing of it. And then he hooked me. He got me back with The Hunt of Wolverine #1. And then the first 2 issues of Return of Wolverine have sucked the biggest of donkey dicks. So, it's hard for me. I'm actually looking forward to the new one. I would love to read Zdarsky's work. That Sex Criminals for Image was a great book. Chichetto's artwork is amazing, like you said, on Old Man Hawkeye. And for those who don't know, he also did a lot of those. He did a lot of different of the Young Guns covers last year, early in the spring, I think is when those came out. So I think it'll be good. I think it's a good writer team with a good artist, and hopefully they can get their flow together and give us a good story. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, no, it's going to be good. And here's where I and I think a lot of other Daredevil fans can have a sigh of relief. This is not going to be the first time that a writer takes off and leaves Daredevil with a huge fucking cliffhanger. Bendis threw his ass in jail and then left it for Brubaker to have to take over with him in jail. And then Brubaker did an amazing job with that whole story. And then Mark Waid ended his run by Daredevil having to come out with his identity. His identity was revealed to everybody. So they've done this before with Daredevil, where the writer just dips and then he's like, "Here you go. You got this fucking crazy ass story that you have to now deal with." But Marvel does a really great job on this series with finding someone capable of taking that over. Yeah, and that's a good point. And I also think another point too is it's actually kind of liberating, as I would think, to come into that. Mm-hmm. Okay, you left me on a cliffhanger, and now it's up to me, so I can pretty much go wherever the hell I want. Oh, he's in jail, so I can either leave him in jail for 5 or 6 issues and change his personality and make him change in there, and then bring him back out, and now he's got to come out, and then I can put him into a world of shit. Hey, you've been in jail for 6 months. Now you come out, and everybody fucking hates you. Or you mean I can get him released the next day on a technicality, and then all these he's out, and then the bad guys, or he escapes jail. So I think there's a lot of liberation in that. The fact that Zdarsky can go, okay, cool. Hey, Marco, me and you were gonna have a nice little talk. What do you want to do? Where are you thinking of going with this? So, and again, at the end of the day, it'll be Marvel will oversee the story. I'm sure. Well, maybe they kind of let everything go. But, and I mean, it's all gonna come. I think for me, it really comes down to what exactly does Soule do here with Daredevil? Like you said, does he kill? Does he actually kill him? Does he just kill the character of Daredevil? It's going to be crazy to see how it ends and then how good of a job they do of taking it over. Yeah, but I'm excited for it for sure. Yeah. So next up was we had the release of Uncanny X-Men #1 this week. I personally have not really gotten into X-Men books too much. At least since the whole 90s thing, but I did start to read Red and Blue when those came out, and then it just kind of fell off. And so for me, I think I'm just done with X-Men until I know that there's a series out there that just nails it, and I just have to get back into it and read it. In which case, when that does happen, then I'm going to go get a trade or an omnibus from InStockTrades.com and just take care of it that way. Who is having a 3% off sale, by the way, that ends today. So just let them know that we sent you on that. So this is a series that I'm not going to read until I know that it's worth it. But I want to get your thoughts. A, I'll leave this one up to you. A, on the series, and then B, there's some news coming out of what this series has planned. If executed, what Chad is about to tell you is what's going to get me to get back into it and read it. So take it away. Okay. Well, so it's going to start off supposedly. If we're not, I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I picked up the cool Mike Deodato local comic book store edition today. It unfortunately it hasn't been getting good reviews. People are saying it's very lackluster. Not necessarily bad writing, but just it didn't get people like on the edge of their seats, just like Craven issue 2. I personally think because Marvel does not have a good track record with what they're going to do, I think them trying to come out with a book a week is going to blow back in their faces. And don't forget, I want it to be good. I hope it's good because I'm a big Wolverine guy. I don't really care about most of the other X-Men because they're mostly useless, especially Cyclops. But a book a week is a hard order to fill. And we've already seen where Marvel had problems filling a month, like a book, especially like Secret Wars and all these other ones and these tie-ins. They had problems doing a book a month, let alone a book a week for 3 or 4 weeks. Because I know in January, starting in February is issue 12, which we saw artwork for already for this series. So as far as I know, they're going to bring him back. The team that looks like it's going to be is like Nightcrawler. I think it's Nightcrawler, Storm, Jubilee. I could be wrong there. Bishop, Iceman, and Archangel. There's like a really weird conglomerate of team of
lineup,
lineup there. And X-23, or I like to call her Discount Wolverine. So it could be interesting, and again, it could be awesome. Like it could end up being great. I just think they're really doing too much, especially with their track record. And we're supposed to see Cyclops come, spoiler warning, but this is out there, so I'm not I don't know what actually happens yet, but in the series that they've teased, Cyclops is supposed to be coming back. For those who don't know, a couple years ago, Cyclops was taken over by the Phoenix Force and he killed Professor X. Then in some other storyline, he was killed by Terrigen Mist. Although Emma Frost, he in the story, in the scene, he says like, keep my idea going of this liberation, keep this thing going. So she did like an astral projection from there on of him. And then that was killed by Black Bolt, and people thought it was him, but it wasn't. He was killed way earlier. So he's coming back somehow. I have no idea. But the artwork that's already been shown it's like the last stand of the X-Men, or the last 2 X-Men to stand. And it's Wolverine, of course, because he's better. And Cyclops. So I don't know if Cyclops kills them. They said like it looks like the artwork like he turned on them, or he kills them, or maybe they're just the last 2 alive. What's going to happen? It's really pissing me off how they're already showing us artwork for issues 11 and 12, and issue 1 isn't even a week old yet. But I think they're trying to, hey, look guys, look what's coming in 4 or 5 weeks or
exactly
weeks.
To get you in on it now.
Yeah. But the problem there is wait till the week into the first issue, because it's Sunday. Issue 1 came in on Wednesday. Wednesday night it was already getting bad reviews. So
right.
Maybe wait a little bit, but I'm interested. Like I like the X-Men. I try to like a lot of them. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. There was this one person, I won't call them out, but they're from Bleeding Cool, and they wrote a whole article about how Wolverine's the crappiest X-Men and Cyclops is the best. And, fuck you. Okay.
How so?
They said they didn't. That's the thing, is they didn't go into it. They didn't go into why one sucks and one's bad. They just said this guy's good and this guy sucks. Even though pretty much every X-Men movie out there was about Wolverine. Cyclops has been a little sad sack emo kid in every movie he's been in. The cartoon was the same way. But there's a character like his powers.
He's the
Cyclops
leader, though.
Yeah, okay, because he was first there. Like he's a cool character. His powers, if you actually look into what Cyclops' powers are, they're crazy. But he doesn't ever get written well. He either gets written as this emotional wreck of a man, or this guy who's like, I'm taking my ball, I'm going home. Like, there's no there it is, Devastation. So
I think it's a great cover, by the way.
It's good. It's
beautiful.
Good artwork, but Marvel tends to rely too much on artwork and little on story. Point in case Death of Wolverine by Charles Sewell. But I would love to see him done well. I would love to Cyclops to be like the no nonsense thing, because you see in movies all the time or TV shows, you get this character that everybody hates for 2 or 3 or 4 seasons, and then they finally make him badass where everybody's like, oh, okay, here we go. Here's the guy we all want to see, and then they kill him or he leaves the show. So I want them. I would be awesome if he was awesome. Like if he was a great character and they wrote him good and he was just kicking ass along with Wolverine. That'd be great. That'd be a great duo.
Yeah.
Those 2 together could kick like a lot of ass. But I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll get him. He'll be mentally screwed up from all the deaths he's had over the last 30 or 40 years. You know, or the last one, maybe he'll come back all regretful because he killed Professor X. So, you know,
that's what I get from the picture.
like,
I mean, it's definitely he's going to come back and have to deal with all the shit that's happened. And it'll be interesting what happens with him. So, but again, like you said, this is all going to come down to the writers.
Yeah, and who knows what happens, because by that time Wolverine was dead. So he's coming back and he's like, where's Professor? Oh, Cyclops. What now? Excuse me, sorry. Scott did what? Oh, okay. We'll wait till he gets back. So
yeah.
So it's interesting. Good. I like I said, it hasn't started off on the right foot. It's getting bad reviews, but I hope they can turn around because I'm an X-Men fan. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
And again, just do what I'm going to do and wait for a few issues to come out and then get a trade on instocktrades.com and then read it from there if it's any good.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. I think we're pretty much ready for the moment that everybody has been waiting for. I know that we're at, like 16 people here right now. So this is the most we've had so far. So drum roll, please. We're going to turn our next segment into the Grind My Gear segment. And I'm just going to step away from this one. I'm going to bring up the topic, and then I'm just going to back the fuck up and just let Chad speak for both of us. So Bill Maher, as a lot of you know, had a big post on his blog that spoke about Stan Lee and the state that the country's in right now. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say. If you haven't read it already, I don't know where you've been living, but check it out. And now, Chad, the floor is yours.
Is ours. I'm speaking for you. We're a team.
Okay,
remember?
yes, that's right. That's right.
So yeah, you know, before I get into my little diatribe here, I didn't like Stan Lee for a long time. After I read a lot of things about what he did early in his career and when he was young, I didn't like him. I hated him. You know, everybody's like the stuff he did to Jack Kirby. Those who don't know, when he was 19 years old, I think in a bid to get popularity or get the upper hand or get favoritism by then editor and owner Bob Goodman of Timely Comics at the time, he ratted them out. He ratted Simon and Kirby, who were doing side work for DC. He ratted them out to the top guys. They got fired. So for a long time, that was the thing on him. But you got to remember, he was, and I've thought about those last couple days. He was 19. You're not an adult when you're 19. I'm sorry, you're not. You're not a man. You're not a fully grown woman. You're an old kid. So to judge a 95-year-old by what he did, like 70 years ago or almost 70 years ago, it's hard, you know. So his ideas. He maybe wasn't the greatest writer of all time, but he wrote some really cool stuff. And his vision along, you know, and helped obviously him and Kirby's vision of these characters and this world that he created. It touched a lot of lives, and a lot of people read the comics and, you know, the X-Men and all these other ones, and Fantastic Four being basically about a family who can't really get along all the time, and X-Men is about being different, and you know, so many examples could be drawn from that book alone. You know, I didn't like what he wrote, and I think Jay's going to put it up the whole thing, but a few of the excerpts written down that he wrote was, fans are in deep, deep mourning for a man who inspired millions to, I don't know, watch a movie, I guess. That's pretty hypocritical from a motherfucker who did a cameo in Iron Man 3. You know, Bill Maher was in Iron Man 3 on the news talking about Iron Patriot. So it was nice to get those fucking Marvel checks, eh, Bill? Well, you were getting them, but you're going to shit talk this guy when he's gone. Another one he said was 20 years ago, something happened. Adults decided they didn't have to give up kid stuff, and so they pretended comic books were actually sophisticated literature. I don't think I've ever called comic books sophisticated literature. I'm not comparing it to Dante's Inferno or Alexander Dumas' The Count of Monte Cristo, but the words aren't any less powerful. You can get kids, these young kids whose minds are being molded. They can read a story and about anything, and maybe some people think, oh, you're reaching, you know, you're grasping at straws, but they'll get some of these stories about these comic book characters being gay, and they didn't say anything in the comic to their parents because they were afraid, or their powers, or you know, when he talked about how he didn't like bullies, so he made like the Hulk or something. Like, there's so many different takeaways from his stories and comics in general. It can help a lot of people, you know, and it doesn't have to be sophisticated stories. Simple ideas and simple writing can do a lot in of themselves. So The problem, and there's one other quote here that says, the problem is we're using our smarts on stupid stuff. I don't think it's a huge stretch to suspect or to suggest Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks comic books are important. Like, you missed a real opportunity here, and I'm going to speak directly to Bill, or like he's actually watching this show. Because even if he wanted to use some Marvel quotes or examples to prop up his own propaganda against Trump, people would have been fine with it, if he used it positively. But to say that, you could have slammed the Trump administration and it would have been fine. But you went after this beloved man. Instead you chose to talk shit about a man his name will be remembered for generations. Our like in 200 years, if they're talking about these movies and stuff, they'll still talk about Stan Lee. Bill Maher's name will be forgotten a week after he's gone.
Yep.
His most iconic line I wrote in my little thing here was that great power comes great responsibility. With great power becomes great responsibility, which is from Spider-Man. And what it basically means is if you have the power to do good and to change things and do the right thing, you should. You need to act. And Bill has the power to reach millions of people on his show and influence them with his words. And if you're going to choose to attack a man who's inspired millions of people as a way to go after Trump, then in all honesty, Bill, you have the responsibility of shutting your fucking mouth, okay? Until you know what you're talking about. To go after him it made him look as dumb and petty as he accuses Trump of being. He's just stooped down to his very target's level. And like I said, coming from a guy who had a part in a Marvel movie to go after the guy who created that universe is real hypocritical. And it shows that his hypocrisy knows no bounds. It's just clickbait,
Yeah.
As far as I was going, he was like, "Oh, I'll capitalize on that," but he could have used it in a positive way. He could have spun it. It is lazy writing. Let's just shit on him because you can, So that's pretty much my piece, like the hat says. Fuck Bill Maher because he's a dumb shit. And I think you're also saying too is, I think you're calling the culture dumb. You're calling us dumb, comic book fans. Like, how many comic book fans? You look on IG, doctors, rocket scientists, cops, blue collar workers. Like, comic book fans come from every walk of life. Okay, sure, yeah, maybe people sitting there doing cello lessons at Carnegie Hall aren't comic book fans, but that's fine. But comics, especially nowadays, it's not just about muscles and shooting lasers. There's comics on every topic of life from all these different publishers. You can find a comic for everybody nowadays. And it's also shitting on a lot of the people who are in that industry. Like, how many thousands of jobs throughout the year do comic book movies themselves employ?
Yeah.
So it was just really stupid. It was arrogant on his part. And maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he just said, fuck it, I'm going to get clickbait and I'll get the viewers. But if he really thinks that, he's an asshole. And, you just look stupid.
It's definitely a look at me type of thing is what I get from it. Yep. And it was low. I mean, that was definitely some cheap shots there. And I would have to say that, okay, most comic books, they're going to be about your superheroes and they're going to be very, simplistic. But to say that there's not beautiful works of art in like literature as far as in the comic books go, I mean, that's not true. There are some great ones out there. I know that Sandman's a big one. Watchmen's a great one. And there's a lot more like that. So it's not, again, like you said, yeah, sure. Okay. Can we put that up with some of these greatest works of all time? No, but they are sophisticated and they can be. And more importantly, they get reaction and emotion out of people. There's countless people that can talk about how comic books have changed their life. I mean, our fucking club, for Christ's sakes, was created by our president who, talks about how comics got him out of the darkest times in his life. And I know a bunch of other club members that share that same sentiment. So, and then it's kind of like you're shitting on them in the sense of saying, okay, so, they're a child and they're immature because they use comic books to get them out of that situation. Like, it's just
would you rather
ignorant.
than popping
It's
pills?
just ignorant.
Yeah, like it is
And
ignorant. Like we're both dads, we're both fathers. We go to our jobs, we pay our bills. We're a father. We're husbands. We do all that stuff. Well, because we're adults, I can't read a comic book. Like,
yeah,
it's just dumb. And you brought up the point of people using it to get out of the darkest places, and that's great. That's awesome. That would be for any comic writer or even artist, even if it was just the art. That would be awesome for them to tell them. And I bet you any artist or writer worth their salt would be genuinely grateful to know that, hey, your book I read, I was in a dark place. I was going through depression or whatever, this or pills or addiction, whatever it is. You're in a dark place. Reading your book helped get me out of it. That's what they hope to have happened, So it's just ignorant for him to say that shit. And maybe that's why Iron Man 3 isn't on Netflix, because they had to pay him so much for his appearance that they're like, we can't afford the residual paychecks for you, so we're gonna take it off. But he's just a dumb shit.
It is, and I mean, I'm probably gonna butcher a lot of this here, but I remember in the tweet. So when Stan passed away, everybody was tweeting, and by everybody, I'm specifically talking about celebrities here. Celebrities were tweeting their pictures with him and talking about, their times that they spent with him. And Arnie Hammer made a post, basically insinuating something along the lines of like, everybody's using his death as a time to post their picture of themselves and be like, look at me. And then, I think it was Jeffrey Dean Morgan then responded and pretty much called him an asshat, and that he was, being disrespectful with that comment. And he ended up deleting it and apologizing for it. But it is, but this is what I think he was talking about. This is a person that I feel made this, like you said, for clickbait to get his name. I mean, if you type in Stan Lee, you're going to see this article. It's, this article's there. Like, it's one of the first things that's going to come up, because now this has become such a big story. And, there's the saying of any publicity is good publicity, and it's getting people, hell, I'm on his site right now, because I had to look up the article, and it's bringing traffic to his site. It's bringing all this stuff to him. And that's exactly what he wanted.
Yeah, I would encourage, and I'm going to do it. I just thought, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a trade paperback, and that's a great rating. I'm going to send it to Bill Maher at CNN or wherever the hell he's working now. I suggest every fan who sees this does the same thing. Go find a good book that has awesome writing, put it in a bubble mailer, make sure it's, it's done well, and send it off to Bill Maher and say, here's some good reading. Why don't you read this instead of being a fucking dumb shit?
Yeah. I'm gonna encourage everybody to go on instocktrades.com and buy
you beat me to it,
buy some of the best, some of your favorite trade, and then send it over to him, or Omnibus. Those are great too.
And Arnie Hammer, that was more of a look at me moment. Like, are you mad because you haven't been casting anything there, Lone Ranger? Is that what it is?
He wants that Green Lantern.
Yeah, I would love to see him as Green Lantern. I don't know if he's gonna get it now though, but yeah, that was kind of a stupid. Like, again, people are showing their pictures because it reminded them, it's like, look, they were just like, I got to meet the guy. He's gone now. And I don't know. Just people are dumb. People have no sense of timing. They think it's good. But like you said, any attention is good attention, I guess. So publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. So. And I mean, I know. And we have this conversation all the time in private, or, people talk about it all the time, and you do. Anytime someone dies, there is that thing of every single person has to come out and say how much of a fan they were of this person, right?
When Hugh Jackman dies, I will be sitting in that corner crying like a baby for a week. I will be inconsolable for at least 24 hours.
I say it all the time. I cried when Paul Walker died, and I still tear up when everybody makes fun of me for it. And when any of them in the rest of that series die, I'm gonna be sad. I'm trying to find. I wanted to find Hammer's tweet, but I don't see it. But I do know that. Yeah, no, I know.
No, it's always in the internet though. Someone screamed at that for sure, but.
Yeah, and then, like I said, and then Jeffrey D. Morgan pretty much called him an asshat, and then he called and apologized. He said, while attempting to provide some unnecessary social commentary about the current selfie culture, I, in true asshat form, thanks to Jeffrey D. Morgan, inadvertently offended many who were genuinely grieving for the loss of a true icon. I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart and will be working on my Twitter impulse control. And so, I mean, I think it's good that he apologized for it. I liked it. Jeffrey Dean Morgan then shot back at him.
Did Arnie Hammer just get Lucille'd?
I guess. I mean,
yeah, and he mean a lot. Like if you listen to Kevin Smith's and Mark Bernard and Batman Beyond podcast, it's called Batman Beyond now. It's no longer Fat Man on Batman. They do a special Stan Lee tribute episode, and like Kevin's like in tears half the episode because he's going through all these stories of how he influenced him and how he met him and all this crazy stuff. And it's just, even if it's like we said, even if you never meet the person, you touch people through books, whether it's a comic book or a book or even a magazine. You've got a person who's a writer for like Time magazine for 20 years. Their words touch you because eventually you resonate. Something resonates with you, not the words themselves, but the story that's being told hits you somehow. You can relate to it so well sometimes, and that's why it affects you. And then you become a fan of that writer or that medium. So I think it was mostly clickbait for both of them. So it's just, it's people who aren't, and it's one of those things where people who aren't interested in those things don't understand it.
Correct.
Like how mathematicians love math. I will never understand it because I hate numbers and I'm bad with them. But you got to be in that genre, that culture to get it. So these two are obviously people who aren't in the culture and didn't get it and decided to run their mouths off instead of just shutting up and letting the moment pass. So
yeah, it's definitely frustrating. That's pretty much. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
That's our content.
So I just wanted to just kind of step in and want to say that Chad exactly spoke for everyone in regards to their feelings very eloquently and with the situation with this tool. It's what happens, right? People are gonna say things for attention because they know that there's no such thing as bad publicity. So like Jason was saying earlier, when you Google search Stan Lee, the first thing you find is that Bill Maher, and it takes away from the man who just passed away. For myself, like I met Stan Lee like I want to say like 2-3 years ago at New York Comic Con, and I was super excited because I wasn't sure I was ever going to have that chance. And even though it was a very brief encounter, it gave me a few seconds to say hello and say thank you. I'm one of the guys that, I love Jack Kirby, and I recognize that, Stan Lee wasn't a guy that could have done it by himself. To be able to meet him, to say thank you and kind of see him smile, it meant a lot to myself and it meant a lot to Jen, my wife. And then you have a guy like Artie Hamner just, putting out a ridiculous tweet like that. And it always feels like there's one guy that always kind of like, oh man, I'm so sick of all the Stan Lee shit. Then turn off your shit, bro. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You got to allow people to mourn in the way they know how. If that's posting a picture and sharing a good memory, so be it. What's so wrong about that? In today's world, I think that's something we're missing where, we aren't allowed to mourn over somebody or show someone how much they meant to us, even though, like Chad was saying before, Kevin Smith had a great relationship with Stan Lee. I only met him for a few seconds. So me being a fanboy, imagine, like, all right, I was sad. It was heartbreaking. And then a guy like Kevin Smith, who had worked alongside him and spent time with him, their relationship was much deeper. So when you do that, you kind of really trying to say like, hey man, fuck your feelings,
fuck your friend. Who cares?
Fuck your friend. Like, who cares? But yet again, like you guys said, like a lot of us in this club can honestly say that comic books really saved our lives, to begin with. I mean, it gave us, for some, it gave us an escape from our reality. For some, it helped us learn life lessons. And for others, it was just a form of entertainment. So the story is different from everyone. I just wanted to share that real quick and say that, Chad, you spoke very, very eloquently, and I think
Thank you.
You shared what was on everyone's mind, because we could be dicks and be like, yo, yeah, fuck Bill Maher, blah, blah, I'll beat you up, blah, blah, whatever, but at the end of the day, we always have to be the bigger people. You always have to be, like Stan Lee would always write in his soapbox, like, you're going to face these kind of prejudices. You're going to face this type of bigotry. You're going to face people like this in your life, but the most important thing is to be better than that and be better than them, and I think out of everything else in this world, if this is the one thing that brings us comic book fans together, then so be it, right? This is what we need. And as the Comic Book Fiend Club, we try to be representatives of our community. For the IG comic family, it's important. And that's it. I'm going to go hide now.
Do you put up the tweets? Do you have all the other people's tweets?
No, I actually didn't get a chance to load them, but I did post Jeffrey Dean Morgan's response. He's such a badass motherfucker, man. He really is, dude. Like, he don't give a shit. So good for him. Definitely. All right, James, I'm going to throw it back to you, bro.
All right, so that's my dog barking in the background, so you just have to ignore it. But a lot of people were tweeting things like just going at Bill Maher about how insensitive it was. I know you have Chad. Will you look up the Scott Snyder post, the tweet that Scott Snyder did about because I know it in my head, but I want to make sure I get it right. About
I think he just said Bill Maher's just mad because nobody will remember him when he's gone.
Exactly. And then I think Neil Gaiman even said one similar about basically insinuating the same thing, that Stan Lee's going to be remembered when he dies for forever, and then everyone's going to forget about Bill Maher in like a week, and that's the truth. And it's frustrating, to the more and more I think about it. At first, honestly, this morning, it wasn't really bothering me. And then now that we're talking about it, like now it is bothering me more and more. And another part of that is that it just, let's see, my dog's barking. I can't even concentrate anymore. It's just frustrating that he could be that ignorant to say it. And I think for a lot of people, whether you, a lot of us nowadays, whether you like it or not, but a lot of us nowadays, when we post something about someone passing on Instagram, that it's our release. It's not just a look at me thing. That's our release. It's our way of expressing how we feel, because especially if we're going to talk about a comic book person, because a lot of us don't have friends. Unfortunately, we're in this club, so I have people I can talk to at any time about this stuff. But without this club, I don't really have friends out at personal life that are really into it, that get it in the same sense I do. So if someone were to pass like this, that really impacts me, I don't have anyone to reach out to and say, this really is getting to me. And so when we go on Instagram and we post that picture, and I saw a lot of people's captions that they wrote about Stan Lee, and that shit was like touching. Like, some people the things that they wrote were incredible, and that they're writing that, tears in their eyes, writing this because it hurt them that bad, and this is their way of expressing it. Again, it's not just look at me. This is them expressing their grief because they don't have someone that they could talk to about it.
You can't explain it. Like, and it's like that episode we talked about last episode, or the episode before that, about why I always loved Wolverine, because he was a small guy who didn't take no for an answer. He doesn't care. I'm the smallest guy. Cool. More of a challenge. And a lot of people have that. It doesn't matter your size, your brains, or whatever. And that's a simple idea. But when you construct it in such a way that touches somebody so genuinely and so real, they attach a love, or it attaches itself to them in such a way that it's with them the rest of their life. They will always, whenever they're in a hardship, or whatever, or even Aaron, I don't know what book he was reading, but I don't know what that dark place was, and that's his business, none of my business. But for the rest of his life, he will remember what got him out of that. And if he happens to unfortunately start to go back to that, he will go back to what got him out in the first place. So there's always those things that they especially when you're young, when your mind is being molded by all these different influences, they can inspire you and they can make you think about things maybe you didn't before. So it just pisses me off. And he could have used it for positive. That's what gets me. Like, why did you shit on him? You could have taken his examples. Now, he didn't write this, right? But he could have used, and I was thinking about this today, and I didn't mention it in my thing because Stan Lee didn't write it at the time, and he didn't create Captain America either. But there's that great speech in Captain America where he's talking about how, you know, when there's a whole army standing in front of you, you don't run away. You plant your feet in the ground and you say, no, you know, I'm not going, make me. He could have used that example for the women who were fighting the Me Too movement of how they're feeling now, or anything. Like, he could have used so many examples for positive, even if he was trying to shit on the administration that he hates, he could have used comic book examples and Stan Lee as a positive reinforcement to those. And instead he decided to shit all over him just to get at Trump. And it was like, did no one in his circle say, listen, why don't we spin it? Why don't we use good examples to prop up our ideas? Even if that's wrong in a sense, we'll come off as positive. We'll come off as good guys. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, brother. Go ahead.
Of Stan Lee, I guess they were filming him before a show or something started. So I just wanted to push that out to you guys real quick.
Sure.
Let's see.
This is a video?
Yeah. It's a video. I'm going to play it now.
The fans love your sense of humor.
Sorry for those folks who aren't used to this. Is a longer podcast tonight, but I feel the topic.
Well, it's an equal love fest because I love my fans. I cannot tell you how much I love my fans. They sometimes at night I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what's it all about, you know? And then I get a letter from a fan, or I read something, or I see something, or I remember something, and I realize it's so lucky to have fans who really care about you. And that's the reason I care so much about the fans, because they make me feel so great. And there's something, if you think about it, that is wonderful about somebody caring about you as I care about them, whom you've never met, who may live in another part of the world, but they care, and you have something in common, and occasionally you contact each other. And this business of fans, I think, is terrific. And I love them all.
Well, thank you for letting me share that with you guys. I just wanted to show that real quick. I mean,
no, that's a great clip, man. That was a great clip. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it was just important for everyone to see, like, hey, listen, it's you know, it was a man that it was a man that really loved what he did. It wasn't, you know, a lot of times you're like, wow, this is a fucking money grab, right? $100 for a signature, $100 for a picture. And then you see something like that, right? Something so out of character, just having a conversation and saying, like, you know, I love them. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, when I first saw it, I teared up a little bit because it's just one of those things. Like, he understood. He got it. You know, and I hope other creators can see that as well. You know, with so much bullshit going on and everything else in the community, just follow Stan's example, right? The fans, they buy your work, they read it, they love it, they enjoy it. If they get mad, that's just because they love it. You know, like Chad was saying, like, you know, with Wolverine, he didn't like something, but that's just because he loves the character, you know, so much, and he's so invested in that. And it's just, like I said, it's just a wonderful video.
Yeah, it is good.
That was good. I don't really have anything else to add to the conversation. I think we all know. That Stan Lee was great. I think that we all can agree that, you know, fuck Bill Maher now at this point. And I don't know that there's really much else to add to that.
No.
So we're gonna change topics now into let's get positive here for a second. We're gonna compose ourselves and get back to having some fun here. So Chad had a big day today. He was at a convention and he met some of our fellow members. So I want you to tell us about that. Tell us about how that was. How was your day?
It was good, yeah. In Toronto, in Northern Toronto, I think was it Vaughan or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's in Toronto, Northern Toronto. It's called the Toronto Comic Book Show. They usually do it every month or every other month. This is my first one I've been able to, because every time there is ones, I'm usually working or I have family obligations, so I haven't been able to attend. But no, today, myself, Jay Chala, the Comic Archive, who's Chris, Joe, who aka Dominion Collectibles, Matt, aka 416 Collector, and I think that's it. That's 5 of us. Yeah, 5 of us were able to go. We all met up there. It was kind of cool. We got to meet me and Jay have met before, and we've also met 416 Collector, Matt. But it was our first time meeting Chris and Joe, which is really cool. Joe, I'm pretty sure, is officially the oldest member of the Comic Book Fiend Club at a ripe young age of almost 50. He's 49. Just want to give him a shout out. We're gonna get him a special patch that signifies that. And if there happens to be an older member, whoever comes in the club, he'll have to take that patch off and send it to them.
Nice.
But yeah, we were there. We were also rocking. We had these fresh off the presses. We were rocking the new our new CBFC hoodies that we had made at the show. And yeah, it was a really good show. Lots of little event. It was a smaller show, you know. It was just in 2 conference rooms in a hotel. But a lot of good vendors, a lot of good books. If you had the money, a lot of them were able to. You could talk to them down, you know. I know some of them got some pretty cool books. I was able to finally get one of these. I traded in a slab and for a bunch of books. And I was able to trade one of those books for this little guy, the Return Over in the Glow in the Dark cover, issue number 103 of 2000, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it was a good show. We took some pictures. We got to walk around and chit chat with each other, and then we went to dinner after that, and had some food and some drinks. And so yeah, Jay's showing up the pictures right here. Yeah, it was just a really fun time. It was good to finally meet these guys, you know, and after you talk to them for so long. We had another member, serial killer Andy, who was supposed to come, but unfortunately work obligations, you know, got in the way of him being able to come. But
way to be committed, man.
There's always, you know, there's one of these shows every month or every other month, like I said, so there's plenty of time for everybody to get together again. So it was really cool. We all got some books. I think I know Maddie got a big cool, like the premiere edition or whatever what are they called? What are the huge square ones called? The gigantic ones. I forget what they're called. Masterpiece editions.
Treasury
editions. Yeah. So he got a really cool Spider-Man one where it has the Sinister Six and Craven on the front cover, and like they're all jumping at Spider-Man. So that was really cool. So yeah, man, we all got some good books and had a good time. So it was fun.
Those things are fucking huge.
They are.
I have a Hulk one. Covers all detached and everything, but I mean, fucking.
Yeah, they're cool. But if you don't want to stack, like if you don't want to display or have the boxes for a premiere edition, you can get trade paperbacks, treasury editions, but you can get trade paperbacks and omnibuses at instocktrades.com right now for 3% off. So if you don't want the big heavy books, go get one of those. Yeah. So
did you guys get any? Or no, I was gonna ask if you guys picked up any of those, but never mind. In Stock Trades wasn't there, so you guys didn't get them.
Yeah, no, we didn't. But I want to shout out to my Canada chapter boys, Farkas, Mike, Braden, Dexter, who wasn't there either, Andy, Chala, Matt, Chris, and Joe. What up, boys? Because I promised them I shouted them out last week, and I didn't, so I got to make sure I did my shout out this week to them.
I should have just cut you off there so they didn't get their shout out. But is there like I mean, I know Canada's fucking ginormous, but is there like a central type area? I mean, are you guys all relatively close enough to where everybody could meet? Or I mean,
no, not at all.
Okay.
Oh, and sorry, one guy I forgot was Tyler, aka Werewolf by Moonlight or Moon Knight, whatever.
Yeah.
I always forget the last part of the name, but want to shout out to him too.
Because you're jealous of his collection.
I am. He's got some heat. But no, actually, we have 6 members. 6 members in Ontario, the province we live in, and then Tyler is all the way on the East Coast, like the very tip of the country there. Attila is all the way on the West Coast. He's on Victoria Island, which is all the way on the West Coast. It's the island actually beside the coast. Like he's way on one end. And then we got 2 members in Alberta, you know, which is just on top of Montana. So yeah, so The good chunk of us are in the same province, relatively close. Serial Comics is about 4 hours away from the city of Toronto, and the rest of us are within an hour to an hour and a half of the city. So, but yeah, we're not super close as a chapter, but there are certain members that are pretty close together.
No, that's still cool that you guys got to get together. I am going to call you out on one thing. As much as I do love the new hoodies, where were you and Chala's cuts? That's what I want to know.
Mine was just too bulky. With the weight loss, it's just too big. Just too big, and it's a small convention hall, and there's lots of people in there. Just too much sweat.
It's just excuses. Just excuses. Those cuts are expensive, man. Damn. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna let it slide this time, but yeah, you guys need to wear your cuts next time and represent. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to fly out to Canada and spit slap all of you.
Okay. So come for Fan Expo then, do it.
Okay. Well, no, that's good. I'm glad. I don't think, for me, I don't really have any conventions coming up. There might be like a small local one here or there, but I'm definitely, I've been going way too hard on the books between LA Comic Con and then coming back and going ham on eBay, and just, I'm gonna have to take a little break, especially with the holidays coming up. So
yeah, well, the convention season's coming to a close. It doesn't ramp up again until C2E2 in March. So
yeah. So I'll have to take a break, but no, that's good. I'm glad you guys. I love seeing, and I know we all do. We all love seeing everybody be able to get together like that and have a good time. And now you have the senior members, so you guys can go to Denny's and get a discount and all that shit. So that's always good.
Yeah, it is. It's nice.
Well, unless there's any other, I think that pretty much covers the show. I think we had a pretty good hour and a half. So
yeah, I think so. I think that's all our topics. Yeah. No, it was good, man. All right, it was a good show.
It was. So we thank you all for tuning in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got about a minute as we say goodbye. If you guys have any other topics you want us to quickly go over. But yeah, no, I want to thank you all for joining. Hopefully soon we'll be able to get a couple new fresh faces on. So you guys are sick of seeing our ugly mugs.
Speak for yourself.
But no, I do appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate that everybody stuck around with us taking the extra hour to start. But no, I had a good time. I think that we had some important things to go over this week. Again, we're just gonna fuck Bill Maher. That's pretty much how we're going to end this thing. And then again, as we always like to end now, In Stock Trades has a 3% off sale today only. So get that in. If you don't make it, then just tomorrow order some other shit. And Tuesday will be a bunch of new books. Follow my page at the Comic Radar. I'll be posting my haul that I should get from them tomorrow in the mail. And that's about all I have. So Chad, do you have anything?
No, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I did my shout out to my boys, and it was a good show, good week. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the next couple months. There's not a lot of cons, and some good books are coming out. So, and we'll see what happens with Uncanny X-Men, and we'll see what happens with Daredevil, and pretty interesting coming into Christmas.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to the West Chapter too. I don't want to leave them out. So thank you all for tuning in, and have a good night.
Later. Fuck Bill Maher.